On our first episode of Take It Offline, we discuss the in-person remote work debate and what really drives productivity, and more importantly, personal fulfillment. Don't go anywhere. We're going to take it offline right now.
The fundamentals of business. Mental is a part of the word.
I never ask my clients to judge me on my wins. I ask them to judge me on my losers because I have so few.
There's money in the banana stand.
I'm a hard-working man.
You can't learn how to close. You better start thinking about another career.
Put that coffee down.
Welcome, everybody, to the Take It Offline podcast. I'm Nate, and that's Mike.
Hey, everybody. This podcast, we're talking work, life, leadership, and everything in between. So Nate and I combined, we've got about 50 years of leadership experience.
And while we may not have all the answers, we both have a lot to say. So we thank you for listening. Mike, this is something we've been talking about doing for quite a while now, and we're finally doing it.
Yeah, probably 2 years.
At least, yeah. And kudos to you. Rather than purchasing a bunch of equipment for a hobby that may or may not continue in perpetuity, you found our local community library has a pretty robust podcast booth in it.
Yeah, it's pretty high tech for the library.
I mean, it's a little small, but we're in the same room, so that counts for something, I would think.
It is. It's even got some mood lighting in case we need it.
That's a good callback to an earlier take of this intro. But no, it's really good to be here. This is something that we actually had a couple of these recording sessions booked, but we had to put them off because here in the DC metro area, we are covered in a sheet of ice right now. It's pretty wild. I've never experienced anything like this ever.
So I've lived in Maryland my entire life, and back in the mid-'90s, we had a nice little ice storm, and this is very reminiscent of that. And it was very similar, where more people were sliding to work than walking.
And was it this thick, though?
Oh, yeah.
It's really, really dense.
It rained ice.
Really?
Yeah. This was more of snow, a little bit of ice, the melting created more ice. That was nothing but ice.
Man. And it's wild around here. For those of you listening who may be from the DC area, you know that all it takes is a dusting of snow to really grind productivity to a halt in these parts. So you can imagine. I saw this morning on the news that there are counties that still have school closings now, over a week out from the snow.
Well, you know, Nate, there's a saying that, like, when the economy is bad or when things like this happen, there's one industry that does extremely well. Do you know which one it is?
No, please tell me.
Oh, it's the liquor stores. And I'm sure mom and dad are hitting them up hard if they've got kids home for 2 weeks.
I have no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So anyway, that was a quick little aside. But what I'd like to kind of pivot to here is our main topic for this episode, which ties into, kind of to kick it all off here, ties into our desire to have an in-person interaction. Because we actually, in our little broom closet here, we've kind of reconfigured our chairs so we can sort of look at each other across the room. We can jump in on topics. Mike probably saw my eyes get really big as I was started to talk about this McDonald's ice cream machine conspiracy. But there is value to being in person with people in general, but also people with whom you are in collaboration with, pursuing some sort of creative endeavor. Have conversations, even impromptu conversations. Mm-hmm. There's a value to being in person. There's also a value to virtual work. And that's a little bit of, especially around in this area, it's a little bit of a, there are two camps. There are people that want 100% virtual. There are people that feel very strongly that in person is better. There are kind of people that sort of choose a hybrid kind of model. Mm-hmm. But I know that was, last night as I was pulling sound effects to eventually use for this podcast, you were doing pages and pages of research on the, the topic.
Yeah.
So take us through the pros and cons of the two of them, because I know especially here, U.S. government workers were just recently called back to work 100%. I think it starts next month. They have to be back in office. Is that correct?
I'm not sure when it starts, but yeah, I know the mandates have gone out, and people have been told that they may not have a job if they don't comply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know someone who was recently let go for that very reason. They their job was no longer 100% virtual. They kind of fought it, and they are now no longer employed. So
That sucks.
definitely happens, and it definitely is a sticking point for a lot of people. But what are some of the data? I know, Mike, you're a data guy.
I love data. It's you can find a lot of different articles about this, and I tried to focus on things that were more recent, right? I mean, I think all of this really started when COVID happened, right? And just to kind of set it for the audience, what we're really talking about here is not necessarily should everyone go to an office, should everyone work from home. We really just want to kind of have that conversation around is there good, is there bad, is there something in the middle? Where does all this come from? And I think there's kind of a bigger piece here behind all of it, honestly, that I think gets lost in the whole conversation of this.
Sure, lost in the sauce, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think what you first hear is like, okay, why remote work? Well, a lot of the studies show that workers, and specifically ones from Journal of Political Economy, Microeconomics, International Journal of Science and Research, these are some of the places that I was digging into, really looking for people that had done kind of holistic looks at this, not just American, but even a little bit international.
Okay.
And one of the first pieces is lower attrition. 46% of workers say that if I didn't have flexibility to work from home or go to the office, I didn't have that flexibility, I'd probably look for a new job. So there's an attrition aspect right off the bat where folks say, this makes me happier at work.
Okay.
To be able to have work from home as an option.
So what was that number? 46%?
46% of workers say that they would look for a new job if remote flexibility were removed.
Wow. Now, is there any data in there that says that those same people entered into the job with remote work as an option, or did it become an option over time?
It didn't say specifically.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing that I could find. Just knowing kind of where things have gone in the last 5.5 years. Yeah. I would say, I guess we're almost at 6 now. I would say it probably was one that entered. I mean, I've been working for almost 30 years in some type of fairly large national companies that I've worked for. Mm-hmm. And in each and every case, I've seen these moves towards the remote and then kind of pullbacks and then moves back to it and pullbacks. And so there's kind of been this tide, if you will.
It's a bit of a pendulum, I suppose. Things kind of, swing one way and then swing back.
Yep. Well, it's exactly like what we were talking about with the accountability, right? I give autonomy, it gets abused, I pull it back.
Yeah.
And then I, realize, well, I pulled it back too far. And so I think most of our world is a pendulum. Some of the other things that are there, cost efficiency, right?
Okay,
and I think
that's a big one.
We can all think about it. And not just for the employee, but also for the organization.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? The commercial space and all of the expenses that go into owning that commercial space or leasing that commercial space. It's thought to be about $10,000 per employee that is spent on real estate and utilities.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, it struck me as such a large number. Now, I'm sure that is different based upon particular environments, but I can think about some of our, some of these larger companies that have gyms and coffee shops,
big high rises,
and quite a bit of additional things that are
parking structures
that are there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's jump to there's a few more that are there that are out there for it as well, but let's talk about some of the ones for why returning to the office is good. And I'll tell you, as someone who I spent 27 years going to a building, working with folks, some of the best times of my life and some of really long friendships that I still have today because of that. Absolutely think there's value there. But then I've spent several years, really since the pandemic, I got kicked out of my office, didn't want to leave.
Okay.
And had to figure out how to work from home.
Yeah.
and have found value in that as well.
Okay.
So a couple of the things, but I heard this said several times over the last year, and it really got me thinking.
Okay.
For the case for returning to office, culture and mentorship. And I think about myself and some of the early days of being able to be with other people and watch and learn how they interacted. How
Yes.
did the manager interact with others? How did the
Yes.
executive, interact? What were some of the protocols of the culture?
Yeah.
Things that you were there. So
Yes.
I thought there was some strong. It made me think outside of just the productivity and the employee engagement side of it, but what were some of the other pieces? So that piece of a younger person coming in, you stick them at home in front of a computer. Where's the mentorship?
Yeah.
Where's the ability to learn? Hey, in these type of moments, how does our company respond?
Yeah.
To challenges or issues that pop up.
And also even that, which take it a step further, networking. That's one of the things that as I'm growing in my career, a few years behind where you are in yours, you have a really well established network within your organization that was in large part built by years of in-person work, and not even just in one location, but even traveling to other locations around the country. And now, even though I am in person, trying to build a network with a lot of people that are still remote, it takes a lot more intentionality. It takes a little bit more work. Trying to, you have conversations with someone. You're basically picking a name out of a phone book and saying, I guess I'll talk to this guy and see what he does. I got an email from him. He seemed interesting, and you kind of just throwing darts at a dartboard to see what happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely, I think, of all the things you've listed so far, the one that would be the most long-term impact that's not really measurable, because that level of relationship and mentorship is not really quantifiable, and it's more than just making you feel good or me feeling good by having a good mentorship relationship or growing in a career. But that's how a lot of companies are able to promote from within and build a bench of strong employees that can then grow through the ranks with the company. If they don't have someone in that mentor relationship, then they lose out on those that potential growth.
And I know we're going to talk about this in a future episode, but we're at some point going to talk about introverts and extroverts.
Okay.
But I really think that group of introverts, which oftentimes are very cerebral individuals, really get impacted by that.
Yes.
Because they're not the ones that are looking at a Zoom meeting and seeing names of people going, oh, I don't know Joe. Let me reach out to Joe and just, randomly reach out to them or, start that networking process. And so I think introverts, oftentimes they want to be able to read body language and get a feel for stuff. So to your point, that lack of having someone in my space,
right?
If I'm an introvert at a new company, you definitely could feel missing out on that.
Which ties right in real quick. Sorry, because I know we're going to go on. You sent me that other podcast late last night. I listened to it this morning about communication and how our brains, when we're communicating with another human, the first thing that our brains process in like 200 milliseconds are the micro, I can't remember what she called them, but they're micro movements and tensions and muscle responses as we speak, that our brain analyzes that faster than the words are coming out of anyone's mouth. And so being in person and being able to read that and see that is incredibly valuable.
Yep, absolutely. Here's another one that I found this was from MIT. Their research indicated that reducing, and I'm going to highlight this because I think this is a key little nugget here.
Okay, get ready, America.
Reducing in-person meetings, America, yeah. We might be more popular in Europe. MIT said that reducing in-person meetings by 25% can lead to an 8% drop-off in patents.
Okay, hold on. Say that one more time.
Reducing in-person meetings by 25% can lead to an 8% drop-off in your patent citations.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So basically, less in-person, less innovation.
Yes.
And I found that to be pretty fascinating as well, which I think has been one of the cases that you've heard from so many corporations and companies that have really talked about we want to get back in person because of that collaboration. And I think it's great. I think here's the interesting part, right? Most folks have moved to, 2 days a week, 3 days a week.
Sure.
There's a few out there that have said every day, of the week you need to be here. But most have kind of had. So I think there's two opportunities that happen. The first is, I think it's very relative to, are we talking about a national corporation, a regional corporation, a local corporation? Because if you're national, there's a very good chance that the folks that you need to collaborate with aren't in that building that you're going to.
Okay.
So now you're just in your own little municipal library room closet. Right. With other folks that awesome, great folks, but probably are doing their own thing, don't understand your world, may not understand theirs, right? It might be a sales guy over here, it might be a risk management person over there. And the other risk management people are on the other side of the country.
Yes.
So then, is collaboration really occurring, right? And maybe there's an argument to be made for, getting to know these other parts of the organization, helping you to define your job differently, maybe. But even then, what's the likelihood that you're showing up at the same time that I'm showing up?
True.
Right?
That's fair.
I got my 3 days, you got your 3 days.
Right.
So I think there's pieces of that are in here, right? So I think what has happened is we've created this blanket approach of saying innovation is better, collaboration is better, mentorship is better if we're in the office.
Yes.
It is if we're in the office with the right people for the right reasons, doing the right things.
At the right time.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part that gets missed. So I'm gonna I'm gonna get to, I love bottom lines. So I'll throw this bottom line. I'm sure we'll talk more.
Okay.
I think and there's productivity pieces here too, right? So I don't know if I can get to the stats fast enough, but some of what the productivity by minute when you work from home is less.
Yes.
But you give more minutes when you work from home. So what I think they found out is I might work for 30 minutes and then take a little time off.
Right.
And then get back
walk around
to
the block or something.
Yeah. Or go throw, load of laundry.
Yep.
Right? As part of as part of my coffee break, I might end up doing those things, right? So we might have to bleep that out, just in case. So I think that's it. So there's almost this interesting idea that there's stats both ways that can say, well, hey, productivity went down. Well, it depends on how you looked at productivity, right? It's a whole statistical argument. Give me a stat and I can tell whatever story you want me to tell. And so I think there's that piece of, did productivity go down, or is it just distributed differently across the workday, which I think from what I see in the research, it speaks more largely to this idea that people are just as productive regardless. Now, here's the catch, though.
Okay.
And this is kind of where my bottom line comes in. I think it has less to do about where you work and who you're in front of, and it has more to do with purpose.
Okay.
So here's my equation for that. EE equals SOP.
EE equals SOP.
Yes, and SOP is not standard operating procedure, as some of you are probably thinking right now.
Okay.
So EE is energy expended is equal to sense of purpose. I think people expend the energy based upon, do I feel like this even matters? Do I feel like what we're doing here has purpose? And I think that's really, for me, the argument behind all of this work stuff is it's not about being virtual, because you can find ways to get connected. When I was managing the team during COVID, and we all had to go virtual, we got closer in that time than we had in the years prior or the years after.
Okay.
Because we had to find these intentional ways to do things. And we were now doing work that was different because we were trying to help people get through this tough time.
Yes.
It wasn't just simply about a number.
Right. There was innovation in a sense going on in that time, trying to figure out, okay, how do we continue doing what we were doing in this new way? So, in finding new processes to make that happen along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really think it comes down to that, right? I think people expend energy, whether it's at work or in the office, based upon that sense of purpose to the work that I'm doing.
Okay. So, and you're saying that sense of purpose extends out beyond whether you are in person or virtual.
Yeah, I think so. I think if I think that what I'm doing matters, I will. If I'm at home, I'm going to put in the focus and the hours and the time to get the job done. If I feel like what I do doesn't really matter, I'm pushing paper, and I'm in the office 9 to 5 days a week.
Yeah,
I'm still going to find ways to go down to the water cooler and talk to Joe, or to stare out the window at the traffic accident that just happened down the street, or whatever other distraction I want to find, or scroll on my phone, or watch Netflix on my phone, or do whatever else, because I'm not expending the energy to get the work done even though I'm in the office, because I don't feel like I don't have a great sense of purpose to it. So I really think that's, and there's tons of leadership stuff out there on purposeful work and all, right? I mean,
sure.
I love the Adam Grants and Brene Browns and Simon Sinek.
Yep,
And all
Simon
these guys
Sinek.
Inspire me to, Jocko and these guys that, really talk about the mission and so forth. And I think there's a lot of piece there, but I think buried under this debate, work from home, virtual work, what's buried is people put out the energy and effort that's necessary because they feel like it matters.
So I have 2 follow-up questions. Assuming this is true, and your argument, your points are valid, and it certainly feels true. It's not really measurable. I mean, the productivity could be measurable, but that sense of purpose is not necessarily a measurable thing. So my 2 questions are, 1, whose responsibility is that sense of purpose? Is that the responsibility of leadership to imbue, is that the right word? Endow their employees, their people with a sense of purpose that what they're doing matters? Or is it the job of the individual to find their own purpose in their work?
That's a good question, right? Because I think when oftentimes you hear purpose, people think more on the lines of what's the word I'm looking here for, Nate? Doing good works, good service, right? And giving back, and that's not always the case, right? I heard a story of a guy who said he was in the mortgage business, and he said, "Yeah, I do mortgages, but what I really do is save marriages." And it's like, hold on.
Yeah.
So doing loans for homes saves a marriage? Like, you're stretching here, right? But what he talked about was finance is one of the number 1 causes for divorce.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And you and I have both been through hard financial times. We've been through tough relationships.
Yes. And
so we can relate to, like, I see that. But what he said was, if I can help someone work through their finances to find a mortgage that's in their budget and isn't going to cause financial stress in their marriage, I'm helping to make that marriage a little bit stronger. And so he found purpose in his work. Did anyone hand that out to him? No. So I think there's twofold. I think, 1, organizations need to be thinking about what is our purpose? What are we trying to accomplish?
As an organization.
Like, what are we trying to accomplish and do? And I think it doesn't have to be, here's a word, altruistic. It doesn't always have to be,
right.
I think about Bombas socks as an example. And if you guys want to sponsor, feel free. Bombas, which they make great socks.
They do.
But they give socks to the homeless for every pair that you buy, right?
Yes.
So very altruistic kind of model that's going on there. But they still make a great product in the meantime. I don't think it always has to be that. I think you can be a company that just, builds homes, or does landscaping, or whatever it is that you do, or sells food, and your purpose you can still have something in there like, well, why do you do it? Like, why did you decide to do this thing? Right?
Yeah.
It's not money. Money's an outcome of it, right? But why did you decide to do this thing? So I think companies can help that, and they can simplify. This is why we exist. Now, you as an employee have to say, I like that.
I'm going to buy into it.
Yeah, I want to be part of that.
Yeah.
But I think even if in the absence of that, you can still look inside your job and say, what do I do? And
What do I actually do?
Well, yeah,
not the task, but like what is the like you're saying the purpose? Yeah,
yeah. And how do I find purpose inside of that? So I think, but I think it's hard. I think it is hard to measure, and it oftentimes is not going to show up in a performance assessment. So it's one of those things that you have to, I think sometimes the outcomes that are in the performance assessment were driven by these small, and again, we're going to talk somewhere down the line about atomic habits, but it's these small little things that you put in place that probably led to it as a foundation of these outcomes. But it's sometimes hard to stop and reflect and do the work necessary to see it. So I think to answer your question in short, both. Companies need to try to create a simplified understanding of what do we do, why do we matter, why do we exist, and employees need to figure out why do I do what I do?
Yeah.
And at the same time, make sure are you doing things that give you a tremendous sense of accomplishment and joy. And if not, do the work to find something that will.
Yeah. What do you think? I have a theory, but I'll pose the question to you first. What do you think is the biggest challenge with companies or corporations to develop and inspire that vision or that sense of purpose? What's the biggest speed bump or hurdle in actually coming up with something that will capture the hearts and minds of their employees in a meaningful way?
I think it's twofold. I think in most cases, when you have a business that has been started by an entrepreneur, I think that's a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Most entrepreneurs saw a need and set out to fill the need.
Yes. I have a unique skill to fill and meet this unique need. Yeah.
Yeah. Or I have an idea of how to do that thing a little differently than it's been done before.
Yes.
Which I think brings value to the table. I mean, it is at the core of capitalism. Right. Make the better mousetrap. I think when you have a company that then has been turned over to someone who didn't necessarily build it, you can lose some of that why, because they weren't there at the origin.
Right.
But I think the hard part is I think it becomes competing priorities, right? I mean, I think we live in a very busy, fast-paced, challenging world that has a lot of priorities. It's everything from, yes, I have to keep folks happy, and yes, I have to drive the numbers, and I have to, and when you're talking numbers, you got to make the boss happy, you got to make the stockholders happy,
right?
You got to make the board of directors happy. If you're a nonprofit, you still have all that. So I think there's a lot of competing priorities, and I think sometimes it's not you don't always see the connection between, if I do this, how is it going to make those other those priorities stronger or healthier?
Yeah,
and it's a hard thing to see. And as someone, I'm currently, at some point you guys will learn this, I'm in business school now. Yes, very late.
Yes.
But it's a lot of that is not in there. It is not a part of the core curriculum about how do you create purpose. There's touches of it.
Right.
But then it doesn't necessarily flow through, right? It's not this, connecting ligament of health. And it gets a little bit, it's easy for it to get lost.
Yeah.
And so I think it's competing priorities is what makes it really difficult. I mean, there's a lot that you have to do if you're, a leader of an organization, an executive in a company. There's a lot of different priorities, and it's not easy to keep up with all of them. And sometimes it's easy, especially since that's a little softer. It's easy to overlook it.
Yeah.
What's your theory?
My theory was somewhat similar. It's that the people that develop the mission or the vision, especially in a large corporation, someone else develops it and then someone else has to sell it. Like the direct leader that's selling the purpose or the mission to the employees is not the person who came up with it. So they don't feel a sense of ownership over it any more than, you were told to do this, and so this is what you're going to do. This is the direction we're taking as a company, so go forth and conquer. And then that trickles down through the leadership ranks to the different levels, executives, managers, employees, and so on. And that sense of ownership over it is lost, and it becomes a little bit more it turns into just rote lip service. Kind of if you're repeating the same thing over and over and over to your an employee, to a coworker, to a colleague, to a spouse, to your kids, eventually it just loses its value on the person that's listening to it because they've heard it 1,000 times and it's just part of the background noise of life.
Yeah, I would almost say though I think part of the problem is it doesn't get repeated. I think where it gets I've heard this phrase many times.
Okay.
It's you need to repeat. Mm-hmm. And when you are tired of hearing yourself, it's probably when they are starting to hear you. But I think what's happened is we've kind of gone to a billboard approach. Let's put our purpose on the walls.
Yes.
And we remove it from
the conversation.
Yeah. Right? And so we repeat it, but do you repeat it at the prep rally or do you repeat it in the everyday conversation? Right.
Yeah.
And I think there's a difference. When you repeat it in the everyday conversation, I think it has tremendous value. When you repeat it at the prep rally, I think you're right. It sounds like preaching.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's kind of why I think a lot of people have turned the news off recently is because it's just the same stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't want to hear this anymore. I've heard it 1,000 times. But then we still sit around dinner tables and talk about it.
Yeah.
Because the conversation's different.
Yes. So we actually had a whole bunch of other things planned to talk about today, but we're kind of at time of at least the time that we wanted to set for our podcast length.
Yeah, I think it's a good stopping point. I mean, I think what we came to the kind of understanding is there's value in both, and where I land with it is I think hybrid makes sense. And rather than worry about where your people are, worry about how your people are getting connected. And do they feel like their work is purposeful?
And who's collaborating with who? Like syncing that up a little bit more efficiently, perhaps.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think looking for that, looking for, hey, John is over here doing X, and Mary's over here doing Y. I got to bring them together.
Yeah.
Right. And whether or not one's in the north office and one's in the south office, I got to bring them together. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned travel. I'll tell you you mentioned the network earlier on. My best moments of growth, my probably strongest, I'll call them bamboo moments of growth. Because if anyone knows anything about bamboo, it grows underground for
very
5
quickly.
years.
Yep.
And then as soon as it sprouts,
bam,
it's like, where did that come from?
Mm-hmm.
My bamboo moments of growth have come from the in-person meetings that brought people from all over the country together.
Yeah.
Sometimes large groups, sometimes smaller groups, but that for me is where that innovation, that growth comes from. So, but again, it was this intentional thing with an agenda that's meant to impact all audiences that are present. It's how do you do that on a more regular basis?
Yeah.
So I think there's value in both, but what really matters, if you want to get the most out of the individuals within your organization, whether it's 2 people in the local county or if it's 200,000 at the large national level, it's their energy is going to be dependent upon their sense of purpose. For me, that's where it lands, and I think everything else is just shadowing what really matters, which is people need to be excited to get up and do the work that they do, and they want to stay the extra 5 minutes because they think what they do, they know what they do matters.
They believe what they do matters.
Yeah.
They have a sense of it. So key takeaway then for people listening, for our dear listeners, we have plural listeners, I think, of this episode.
You think we're up to 2 or 3?
I think we're going to have at least 2, because I know I have 1, and I know you have at least 1.
I don't know. My spouse tunes me out quite often, so she may not listen. I might have to find somebody else.
So key takeaway for anybody listening, wherever you might fall in an org chart, where does that purpose fit into the next week?
Rephrase that for me. I'm not sure I understand the question.
So I'm listening to this. It doesn't matter where I fall in the leadership structure. My sense is that if you don't already, really identify, write down, crystallize your purpose. And like your friend who did mortgages, like he reframed it and said, no, I save marriages. So whatever industry it is that you're in, what's the deeper why that you're doing what you're doing? I guess that would be kind of the...
Yeah, so I think I would put it too. If you're someone who leads others, stop and ask yourself, are my people are my people in a place where they are able to truly get the value out of whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So if you're virtual, are they getting the value out of that? If they're hybrid, are they getting the value out of that? So measure, are they getting the most value out of this? Meaning the collaboration, the connectivity, the employee satisfaction, the innovation, all of the mentoring, all of those pieces. Are they getting those things in the environment that they're in? If they're not, how do I help cultivate it?
Yeah.
If you are an employee, stop and say, hey, in this environment, what do I need to do to be able to feel purposeful in my work? And I think the measure for an employee, I think this is the best way. When you go home, what are the things that you tell your family that put a smile on your face? So when you want to go home and tell your whomever, significant other, roommate, whatever, when you want to tell them about your day, what are the parts of the day that you are excited to tell them and you're smiling when you're doing it? So it's not the complaints, right?
Yeah,
We all know
yeah.
Home We Go would do that. Those are the things you need to try to figure out how to avoid in your job. But it's those pieces that, hey, this, I am so excited to tell my person about this because it felt so good today.
Yeah.
Stop and write that stuff down. And over time, look at that list and you will start to see a theme of what should my purpose be? Because these are the things that I get excited to do. I don't need an alarm clock to get out of bed to do these things.
Yeah.
I'm going to get myself out of bed to do these things.
Yeah. Well, there you have it.
I think so.
That's the inaugural episode of Take It Offline, Mike. Nicely done.
Yeah, I think so. I think we ended up a little longer than we anticipated, but I feel like it was a good conversation. Hopefully you guys do too. Feel free to give us some comments and feedback. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, coming soon. This is the part where we'd add an email address if we had it yet, or the socials if we had those yet, or a website, which all is in the works and coming soon. Our executive producer is hard at work on that as we speak. This is our time for today. Thank you again for listening. And if you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did, this is the part that I think you were going to say, right?
I have no idea.
Okay. Well, anyway.
Just go with it.
Until next time, everybody, take care of yourself and take care of each other.
Bye-bye, everybody.
The Take It Offline podcast is a production of Take It Offline Media. All views and opinions are ours alone, reasonably informed, and meant for personal entertainment and enrichment, and do not represent any particular organization or employer. Copyright 2026 by Take It Offline Media.